Okay, so we're having some technical difficulties here. I just talked about the wicked priests and how they stole the Lamanite women into the wilderness with them. So let's move back over here to the land of Lehi Nephi. And they're under
what?
They're under bondage to the Lamanites, remember? Okay.
Okay.
Are you confused?
Well, no, it's just because you moved it.
Okay, sorry, because yeah. Okay, so these guys are under bondage to the Lamanites. They're not happy about it, but that's just what they had to do, okay? When the wicked priests of King Noah stole the women, the Lamanites flipped out because they thought it was them. They thought it was them who took the women. So the Lamanites come to battle against the city of Lehi Nephi.
Wait, they thought it was the Lehi Nephites?
Yes.
Wait, I'm confused.
I know, it is kind of confusing.
Wait, the Lamanites?
They thought it was Limhi and his people. They thought they had stolen the women, but it wasn't. It was the king.
Wait,
it was King Noah's priests.
So they took pity on them and they kind of joined sides with them, but then
No, they didn't join sides. They just let them stay here. They didn't like go to war against them.
But then they got mad at them.
And in exchange, they had to give them half of everything that they had. Okay, so like it was like a heavy tax. It would be like if you made $20 babysitting and said, okay, sorry, you have to give 10 to me.
Limhi had to give half of his stuff to the Lamanites.
Right, all of the people in this city had to give half their stuff to the Lamanites.
Okay.
Okay,
so
so
why were they mad?
So
That they took the.
well, wouldn't you be mad if your family was taken? So
Oh, it
all
was
the
them.
Lamanites'
Okay.
daughters were taken, and they thought.
I think we should.
What? Are we still going?
What?
Okay. All the Lamanites' daughters were with the wicked priests of King Noah. They thought they were here in the land of Lehi Nephi. So the Lamanites come and they try and attack. Okay? So they just happened to see the Lamanites coming to war, and the people in the city kind of flipped out. They were like, oh my gosh, we're going to war. So they fought, it says in the scriptures, they fought like dragons, and they fought so hard they beat the Lamanites, but they managed to take the king of the Lamanites, King Laman, captive, and they said, what in the world? Why did you come to war against us? Why? We did not break our oath with you. Why did you break your oath with us? And he's like, you took our daughters. And they were like, what? And Limhi was like, go search all the houses. We're going to find them. And Gideon said, no, wait, King Limhi, it wasn't us. It was the wicked priests. And they told the king of the Lamanites. And the king of the Lamanites was like, oh, all right, fine, I believe you. You still have to give us all that you own. Half of everything you own. So they stopped the war. And the Lamanites just sat guard around the city. But they did stuff like they would punch them. They would like punch them and like hit them. The people in the city, the Lamanites were like, because they didn't like them, and they weren't totally sure that they didn't take the women, and it was just a bad situation. So they started treating them really badly, and eventually it ends up
Killing them?
that they go to war because the people of Lehi Nephi are sick of this. And so they try and go to battle against the Lamanites. They try 3 times to do it. Every time they're beat. And they lose tons of people. Tons of people die in these wars. So you've got this population, and mostly it's the men who are out fighting. So you have this population that has all, like, mostly women and children. Okay, there's tons of widows. All right, so at this point, this is when, do you guys remember Ammon? He came, he wanted to go find out what happened to the people, to Zenith and his people when they came over here. It's at this point that he finds King Limhi, and King Limhi is like, oh, what? We thought that you guys were gone because we sent a bunch of people to go find Zarahemla a few years ago. Where can we put this? And they actually found all of these gold plates. These are huge gold plates. We found 24 of them. They brought them back, but the land was full of bones. It was full of all of these dead, like, animals and everything. We just thought that Zarahemla disappeared. Yes, there's a tiny version. Thanks, Becca. And they were like, we're so happy to see you. And in fact, can you free us? Because we're under bondage. So they came up with a plan. And they decided, since they had to give half of everything they owned to the Lamanites anyway, they decided to just give them a little extra wine. So the Lamanites got super drunk and they passed out, and Ammon took King Limhi and his people back to Zarahemla.
What happened to
Ta-da!
these guys?
Okay, we're getting to that. So, land of Lehi Nephi now is just Lamanites who are asleep and drunk. They, meanwhile,
Wait, so all the people of the...
all of Limhi's people have now moved to Zarahemla. Okay, so meanwhile, Alma and his people are like, they have found, they didn't stay in the waters of Mormon, but they did stay in a place that was really beautiful. It was the land of Helam is what they called it. And they set up a city there. And they started to grow things, and they had flocks, and they were really prospering. Thank you. So this is Helam, the land of Helam. Okay, and so they're just having a great time. That I think it's more distracting for you to get up and down. Okay, meanwhile, the wicked priests of King Noah, they run into the Lamanites, okay? And the Lamanites are like, who are you? And they're like, who are you? And they're like, let's join sides. And somehow, one of the Lamanites, or one of the wicked priests of King Noah, his name was Amulon, convinces the Lamanites that he should be leader. So the king of the Lamanites says, great, Amulon, you run this part of the town. He's like, sweet. So he takes all of the Lamanites and all of the wicked priests, and they kind of wander around. All of the Lamanites that are with him, by the way, are the ones that had woke up here and realized everyone was gone. So they're wandering around. They run into the wicked priests of King Noah, and they join forces. They keep wandering, and they wander into these people, the land of Helam.
Do they kill them?
No.
They join with them.
No, they don't, because they ask them to just leave them alone, and of course they say no. And just remember, these two used to be buddies, because they were wicked priests together, Alma and Amulon.
Uh-oh.
So Amulon is especially hating Alma, because he left and he made this beautiful community, and Amulon is just sick with him. He hates him. He just doesn't like him at all. Okay?
Wait,
So,
who are these two guys?
Lamanites.
Yes.
So anyway, Alma asks them to just leave them alone, and he says that they will, they also have to give them some of their food and their sustenance. Amulon is really annoyed, and he says anybody that is caught praying is going to be punished.
What?
So all of these people go into bondage, just like the people of Limhi. And they were really concerned about this. But then the Lord came to Alma and said, hey, listen, you guys are going to have a chance at freedom tomorrow. The Lord is going to release you from bondage tomorrow. And they got all of their flocks and everything together. And that night he caused a deep sleep to come upon the Lamanites. And Alma and all of his people left. And they took all of their flocks and everything, and guess where they went?
To the Zarahemla.
Land of Zarahemla. So we've got quite the gathering over here. It's a big party. Okay, so that's where the story is going to end right now.
But how come no one can find them?
Well, so they started going into the wilderness, and they stopped and marveled that such a miracle had taken place. Like, they just fell asleep so soundly that they could just walk right out of the city. And then the Lord told Alma again, you can't stay here. You got to keep going. I'm going to stop the Lamanites from going any farther than the place that you're in, but you got to go now. So they kept going. Lamanites came.
Wait, what
couldn't
about
find them.
all of those people, though?
They were all over in Zarahemla. Okay, wonder questions. I wonder why even the people who heard and followed first, they followed Alma. So they had freedom because they left when the Lamanites came and controlled King Limhi's people. They had bondage, but then Alma and his people also had bondage. I wonder why the Lord allows people who are trying to do good things to be in bondage.
What?
Why
Wait, what
does
does
the
bondage
Lord...
mean?
Bondage means like servants or slaves to other people. What do you think? Why would the Lord allow his people to be in bondage? Anybody? It's been a long day. I think I'm losing them.
I don't know. I don't know that.
Well, in the scriptures it says that sometimes the Lord sees fit to chasten his people. That means that
So, like, to
sometimes,
strengthen them.
yeah, to give them
That's why they
patience and faith is what it said in the scriptures.
So yeah, to strengthen them
To
spiritually.
strengthen them. Sometimes we have to go through hard things to learn important lessons. I wonder why that is. I wonder what you learn from being in bondage. What do you learn from hard things? We kind of already talked about this. What have you guys learned about doing school at home? Has that been kind of like bondage?
Yes.
Okay, I think we're done.
Sorry.
Let me just ask the primary kids though. In chapter 21, it says that the Lord didn't want to release them from bondage just yet. He wanted them to learn some more lessons. And so by degrees, they flourished, even though they were under captivity to the Lamanites. The people of, yeah. And so I wonder what it is, why Heavenly Father just didn't release them from bondage right away.
Because they need to be strengthened and they need to learn
Yeah.
about their mistakes.
Okay. Thank you, primary kids. I'm sorry this was such a mess. We'll see you next week.